Get this. It has been over 4 years since I've reviewed a zero tolerance knife here in the Nutnfancy project. No joke, 4 years. But back in 2008, I did 3 of them. Carried them a lot, used them a lot. 3 reviews resulted. Zero tolerance, 0200, 0300 series of knives. And then I knocked out 1 review on that very stout and frankly boat anchor of a knife, the ZT0121. And then I just left zero tolerance. Why Nutnfancy? 4 years, no reviews on ZTs? We love ZTs. Alright, if you're asking why, I'm going to tell you why. And I think I did in those videos as well. First off, and I'm just going to level with you guys, you ZT fans out there, hang on. It gets better, especially with this knife. But number one, those knives specifically were just too damn heavy. That's right, too damn heavy. Secondly, expensive. You know, I mean, seriously, to prove both those points, the ZT0300 series, 8 ounces. What? $340 MSRP? I rest my case. And at the time, back in 08, you know, I'm pushing my lighter is better philosophy, and I've been very consistent in that here in TMP, never abandon it. And for me to review all these ZT blades that pretty much fly in the face of that, very expensive, and I want to do a lot more affordable knives to start off with, and I've done that. I have hundreds of reviews on outstanding, high-value, affordable blades to include large tactical knives. And so those personally motivated me a lot more than the ZT line. And then I guess thirdly, the grind lines on some of those Ken Onion designs, you know, they're very organic, they're hard to sharpen. For me, I didn't dig them so much. You know, the fat flowing lines on those grinds. I think I said that in the reviews back then. But that's why. And so 4 years I was like, ZT, whatever. Honestly, I wasn't motivated, man. If I'm not motivated in the reviews, you're not going to see the knives. Usually when you see a review from me here in TMP, it's because I love the blade. So what are you looking at now? Another ZT blade. You're seeing a review, so what's that tell you? I love this blade. And it excites me again for the ZT lineup. It's from a different designer, Rick Hinderer, this one. It's a 0560 zero tolerance, and it is outstanding. Not perfect for me, but pretty close in a lot of things. We're going to talk about all those details. So it's August 2012. Probably another feature-length Nutnfancy knife review. Talking about all kinds of fun stuff. It'll probably draw you in like a tractor beam. My apologies. And I want to do this review backwards. Check that. Something I've never done. I'm going to start off with cool factor of the ZT0560. And for that matter, this review obviously plays for the 0561 subsequent colorations that are are forthcoming on the 0560. I think Kershaw, that is ZT, has already announced a tiger stripe version of this, DLC coded versions of the Rick Hinderer 0560, and that's all to the good. And we're talking about cool factor. It's going to result in a very handsome and cool blade. But let's spend a little more time with this, and I told you it's feature length. This is one of the things I want to discuss. It is a production interpretation of the Rick Hinderer XM18. A cool blade, a cool custom blade. But let me ask you this. How many custom knives have you seen me review here in the Nutnfancy project, long-time TMPers? Well, Nutnfancy, not that many, I know that. You are correct, and you probably will never see a lot, if any, customs reviewed here in the Nutnfancy project, to include custom tactical knives. Couple reasons for that. You can probably guess what they are. Now, just like you, I've gone to custom knife websites, and it's eye candy. I enjoy it. It's fun. Clicking around, seeing the beautiful designs, cutting edge materials, outstanding craftsmanship of all kinds, to include the Rick Hinderer XM18. However, number one, the knives are expensive. You know, for me to go out even with the Nutnfancy project and go pop down, I don't know, $600 on a custom tactical? No, thank you. No way. Not when a production version of that knife is going to give me all the levels of first and second kind of cool I'm looking for. And how about delivery schedule? How many of those custom knives are backed up like 18 months or whatever it is? Hey, thanks for your order. We'll get back to you in a year and a half. Forget it. Now we're talking about cool factor. This is not an XM18, but for all intents and purposes, to me, it is. Pretty much. I mean, the quality levels of this knife are outstanding. They really are. There's some variations. I mean, I think the XM18 in some of its forms, I'm not the expert on the XM18. I've never tested it or anything like that, but I think it features Rick Hinderer's Spanto blade, combination of this drop point with a Tanto grind. Results in a real strong upsweeping tip. It's good looking. I like it. It looks outstanding, actually. There's different execution of the pivot hardware on the XM18, different variations on the titanium side, colorations, beautiful ones I might add, different types of G10. Okay, that's the XM18. But does any of that impact the coolness level of this knife? The zero tolerance 0560, I will say absolutely not. And if we're talking cool factor, even this standard zero tolerance 0560 is a huge win for cool factor. One is because it does have that direct lineage of the XM18, definitely. Has that very cool Rick Hinderer design. All his design features are integrated here. Some variations, and you know, you XM18 experts know all of what I'm talking about. But this is a cool knife. It is a good looking knife. Hey manufacturers, you want your knife to sell, and I've spoke to this before in other reviews, make it handsome. Make it good looking. That will sell more blades for you than just about anything else. Of course, we want quality construction, lockup, all this stuff we'll get to in this review. But make it hot looking. Serious. Now the XM18 is touted as a very serious, hard use tactical knife, and I think that carries over to this production version of the same knife, the ZT-0560. And that makes it cool. Okay, now that being said, we're going to flex into, I guess, a discussion on value right now. Going backwards still. It still is an expensive knife. It's not $600 expensive, but I don't know, 200 plus easily. Normally on most sites you'll see it snapshot in time 2012, 250, 260 for a standard coloration of the Rick Hinderer 0560 ZT. That's a lot of money. I've said that in other reviews. I'm never going to say, oh yeah, $200 is cheap. Well, depending on the knife, it might be cheap, but on this one, it's a chunk of change. You have some other options at that price level, some that I've covered that I absolutely love. I'm talking like ranking 9, 10 on my likability scale. But value is high, as I perceive it on the 0560, for a lot of reasons. Now, I'm working backwards in this review, and we'll get to those reasons here in a sec, but now is a time, generally at the end of the video I do this, on competitive options. I'm laughing because this is going backwards. It's just hilarious because normally I don't do this. Okay, so 0560, let's say, I'm not going to say a direct price. You know what it is. I already ballparked it. But I just got done reviewing this Line Steel SR1. That's the gorgeous orange and black version in D2 steel in its drop point. Fit and finish on this is phenomenal. It has a steel locking bar on it. About the same weight. This is 5.6 ounces. Although I'm cheating on the talking points, that's a 5.8 ounce knife. So essentially the same weight. This is an awesome blade. Better than the Rick Hinderer Zero Tolerance 0560. I would say just as strong from what I know now. You know, the blade shapes, that's going to be a personal preference. Maybe a philosophy of use preference when we get to that. This one is definitely more tactical for this specific blade shape of the SR1. Made in the United States of America. Made in Italy. This is going to be a less expensive knife, at least in this form. But I mean, I see that review. All I talked about it, the pocket clip, everything. But in my estimation, hard use tactical folding knife. What's another one? How about the Hogue EX01? This is made in the United States as well. 154 cm steel. There's two versions of this knife. One is in an aluminum, I think ballparking around $145. Another one in G10 around $165. I'm kind of going off memory on those prices, so don't hold me to them. Piston locking knife. I would probably, and it locks all the time, I hate that. This version does. I would probably prefer the integral lock here over the piston lock. Okay, I haven't hard tested a piston lock, but that's a good looking blade. Classic drop point, comes sharp, big, heavy duty tactical folder. It's an option. Also made in the United States. Hate the freaking clip on that. Look at that goofy that thing is. Wow. Oh, here's the G10 version. Got on loan. EX01. Like that one a little bit better. Warmer to the touch. Good stonewash finish. Decent steel. I like 154. Hate it. I like it. Let's put that one right there to represent. I haven't reviewed this knife, and I need to get on it one of these days. Benchmade 150/20. Bone collector. That's about the same weight too. D2 steel, I think this one has. Is that right? Yep. That beautiful sheep's foot blade. I love that. 6 ounces, about $125 last time I checked for this one. Really cool G10 handle. Milled with the bone collector motif. Phallic clip. I've gotten to the point where I don't like that. Not so much. Not really deep carry either. But it's going to be a lot less expensive than the Hinderer 0560. This one, just entering testing here in TMP. Check this one out. How about the Crkt Foresight? Yeah. Organic looking blade. Talking of that, there's one right there. Auss-8 steel. Heavy. 6.6 ounces. Nothing fancy. I don't care about the weight. Okay. Still heavy for me. It has the IKBS ball bearing deployment system. This one does too. Not by that name, but it's a ball bearing pivot system, which I really love. I think around 90 bucks. Hollow ground blade right there. Do I have any more on the table? Well, here's a Kin Onion. This is a 0350. It's actually a pretty cool little knife. It's a tank of a knife, but it has a very high ride clip, so you're going to have that much knife sticking out. This is going to be a little bit harder to sharpen, at least with an EPA. You're going to have to use the thin stones on it. It's assisted opening, good jimping. It's actually a pretty cool little tank of a knife. 0350. I just showed you that just to show you the blade. Remind you what this 200, 300 series are like. It's not in the same class as this. It's a lighter EDC style of blade mostly. But there you go. There's some value options for you, dudes. Nutnfancy, which one do you like best? That's a hard decision, and a lot of it's going to depend on how much money you're going to allocate to your knife purchase and how important it is to you, and your philosophies of use. What do you intend to do with the blade? I think the best tactical blade on the table right now is right in the center, the 0560, because its traction is so high. We're going to get to that. So there's your competitive options and value discussion. Hope you liked it. Moving backwards, I think this is hilarious. We're going to clip design now, dudes. How's this? The clip on the 0560 Rick Hinderer is near perfection. It really is. One, look at its profile. How it's wide here, skeletonized, so easy access to the attachment screws, and then it tapers like this. Where did that Hogue go? By way of contrast, look at these two clips. Which one would you want sticking out of your pocket? Exactly. How about this one? The only way it could be better if it was blackened for a more low-key appearance. I would really like that. Has a ZT logo on it. That's all to the good. It's just perfect. It's deep carry. Flared up just enough. I might go with a little less flare, but that's me. It's thick enough to accommodate your tactical pants, and then it's 4-way positionable. Lefties rejoice. You want tip down? Go tip down. You want tip up? Go tip up. Left, right. We see that a lot from Spyderco. Actually, we see it a lot from Kershaw too. 4-way positionable pocket clip is what I'm talking about, and it's Just perfect. Good job on that clip. It's just, I'm just really excited about it, and that takes his ergonomics. Tactical blade. I'm going to have to start talking POUs here a little bit because we're talking tactical blade. One of my requirements, and this is just me, is I want traction. Traction. I want to be able to really lock the blade into my hand, and there's several ways the 0560 series is going to do that. One is the design of the handle, and that has a lot to do with this very deep finger choil created by the flipper. That's a Rick Hinderer design. Well done, Rick. Very nice. I mean, it just, you have basically a lower guard that completely protects your index finger. Or if you're in reverse grip, your pinky. Love it. Little bit of jimping on the lock bar can provide some traction, but honestly you don't really need it on the bottom side because you're locked in with that. You have some jimping over here, and it's medium sharpness. But what I really love top side is this jimping. You guys know I'm a jimping, I don't know, fanatic, because it's so important to the control of a blade, especially an emergency defensive tool. This is excellent up here. It's pretty sharp on the body of the knife and pretty sharp on the blade itself. And together you do have some traction right here, albeit you don't have a huge thumb ramp. It's a very gradual incline, as you can see. But Nutnfancy, that jimping on the top, I don't like it because when I use the flipper, my index finger, that was a bad deployment, let me do it again. That index finger runs into it and it hurts my index finger. I don't really see that to be a problem, dude. Maybe you want to change how you deploy it. Don't dig down so much. I mean, just go back instead of down more. Use a little bit of more wrist action if you want. Use the thumb studs. I like that jimping topside on the 0560. It's good. In fact, if I was to do anything, I'd make it a lot sharper on the blade because it's a little bit radiused right here. I totally would. You can see it right there. It's kind of polished and radiused right there, so it's not, I said excellent. I would say good to excellent jimping. Maybe even better on the handle. Ergonomics. Now, Kershaw ZT says this is 3D machining. That's what they say. What they're saying is that they're going to mill both the G10 side and the titanium side, which is 6AL4V titanium, which we've seen a lot before, in 3 dimensions. And you can see the rounding profile that results because of that. The titanium side's rounded, and so is this, and that's ergonomic in the hand, and plus, more importantly, it looks cooler. It does. I do harp a lot on the sharp shoulders of all types of knives. I'm going to do it here. Not harp, but I'm going to bring it up. This is radius and it's comfortable coming around this side, the titanium side of the 0560. When I'm holding the knife, I don't notice any hot spots on the titanium side. A little bit towards the jimping and a little bit on the G10 side. That's just me. You can see there is a sharp shoulder right here. I like it when manufacturers really radius this off. To me, this is smoother than this side. Just a ergonomic thing to think about. There's your lanyard hole. Big. I usually discuss that when I'm talking about ergonomics. So you can take 550 cord, no problem. This is pillar constructed. You can see your standoffs there. Blackened. Tough construction too. Big old T6 head knife or screw heads there if you want to take it apart. How about that clip on that side, Nutnfancy? That bother you? No, I don't think so. I guess I've just gotten used to it having the clip on this side. Some guys run it tip down so it's out of their grip like this. I get it. I know. It's all personal preference. The good news is you can swap it wherever you want. The ergonomics are pretty excellent, and this might be a good place to talk about this centering. Perfection. Oh my gosh, well done. And most of the ZT knives are that way. Handle retention. Excellent. Now I'll do this off camera. I'm trying to shake it out. It's pretty stout actually. I'm talking the handle retention. It doesn't, I was shaking the knife out. You can do it, but it takes a little bit of commitment to do it. Handle construction. Do you like that titanium on that side? Here's what I like, once again, the looks. In some ways, I just love the technical looks of the XM18 and thusly the 0560 series. It's just a technical look, and because I love it so much, I'm willing to perhaps sacrifice this side to G10, because like I said before, if we really want an ergonomic tactical blade, we'll jump the crap out of it and there'll be high traction G10 all over the place. We'll mill out the liners, make it as light as we possibly can. Voila, we have the ultimate tactical knife in purpose, perhaps not look so. This is CNC milled G10 on this side. It provides medium traction, not super high traction. There are better ones out there. Notice a recessed pivot screw on here. And again, the treatment's going to be different than the XM18, but that's locked in as we've seen in other ZT designs, and that's your adjustment. And no, I have not had to adjust this knife out of box, but I haven't hard used it either. Just saying. I think they call this a stone-washed titanium, speaking of good looks. And we're talking about skeletonizing. Check this out. Milled out pockets in the titanium. Huh, someone is finally paying attention to the weight factor. Milled liner. This is a very thin titanium liner in the 0560 series. I think it's only like 0.050, just like in the XM18. Milled to the hilt. Excellent. Oh man, that is just outstanding. The handle construction is an achievement. It's adequately ergonomic and it's extremely good looking. I guess that will take us to, where am I going next? Lockup and Strength. I said on the table when I was showing you competitive options, this is probably the best tactical blade. I think a case could be made it's probably the strongest. I shouldn't say that, because honestly that axis lock from Benchmade is very strong. The captured liner on the Crkt, what was the name of that knife? I forgot already. Oh yeah, Foresight. That's pretty strong too, I think. But a lot of guys will swear by the locking bar, the integral lock, with the Rick Hinderer stabilizer. I said before in other reviews, I've seen locking bar failures, rock lock happening here, and any hard use, pure titanium locking bar. And I think I could probably get it to happen with the 0560. I'm just leveling with you guys. I mean, I really like it when a manufacturer puts steel on steel. That's my favorite, like Line Steel does here. So this is an aluminum version of the SR1. It's SR1A with a hardened stainless steel locking bar insert that goes on the tang of the knife. Well, this is 6.4, make sure I get it right, 6AL4V titanium. By the way, that AL means there's aluminum mixed into this titanium. Now you can see the lockup right there, and it's sick. It's angled, it's precisely ground. That results in a perfect lockup out of box. There's no shake whatsoever, whatever direction you want to take it. And when you launch this bad boy, it locks up solid. Two ways to launch it, actually. My favorite, as you see, is the flipper. I think that's what most guys use. And then you can use the thumb studs, which are, speaking of ergonomics, well executed. No volcano issues, easily accessible for both lefties and righties. No occlusion issues with the handle. Not a good demo there. You get the picture. I think most guys are going to use a flipper. Lockup and Strength, and now that we're speaking about it, speed, going backwards in the talking points, hilarious, is also outstanding. They use 7 ball bearings, hardened stainless steel ball bearings in the 0560 series. They are captured by, I believe, polyurethane washers, which are held in place by races milled into each side of the handle. Let me see if I can throw some light on there. There you go. Oh, dude, this is a sick blade. Sick blade. I'm not illuminating them too well. I'm looking through the viewfinder. Apologize. There we go. There you can see them in there. Blue polyurethane washers. That's becoming more common in the knife world. I'm talking about a ball bearing pivot system, and I like it. The only reservation I have is what happens when you get mud or sand in there. I didn't take the knife apart. Watching the comments, you probably are going to find a ZT owner of the 0560 that has. You can learn from him. Only time will tell. It's going to build its own track record of how resistant it is. It's not the ZT mud knife, that's for dang sure. I just wonder how that's going to be. I sure love the smoothness of it, and it's a more stable pivot system is what I understand. And when I'm talking stable, I mean it's not susceptible to wiggle or centering problems that we've seen with a lot of designs. So we tweak it up, and next thing we know, we're like touching our liner. Forgot to show you the stop pin. There it is right there. Kind of on the smallish size for this size of knife. See the lockup right there. Fun review, fun review. This takes us to steel and blade shape. The blade shape, if you haven't already gathered, I dig it. It's not full flat ground, but it's ground from the upper swedge in the flat variety. Has a beautiful relief edge. Now in this particular Kershaw 0560, you can see there's kind of an asymmetric grind going on. Incidentally, this is serial number 2897. Cool. This one has a little bit shorter of a grind, the relief edge I'm talking about, and this one's a little bit longer, as you can see. We see that in all manufacturers. I've seen it from Benchmade, Spyderco, Kershaw, so it's just a mild criticism. The blade is excellent though. It's got, I'm talking the shape, it's got good belly, a good relief edge. It's going to be easy enough to sharpen. Has a pretty strong tip to it, as you can see. Notice the distal tapering though on the spine too of the 0560. That's hot. Good looking blade. Just awesome looking. It's got a nice flat area here for consistent angle resharpening like the EPA, which I use a lot. And the steel is LMAX. I'm learning about LMAX. I don't have a lot of experience with it. I think in performance, very important point to make, it's similar to S30, S35, be my guess. Now our friend Sal Glesser from Spyderco will vouch for the LMAX steel. He said it's done great in edge holding and corrosion resistance in their testing over at Spyderco. So who knows, maybe we'll see some Spyderco blades in LMAX. It's Udaholm produced, and they'll tell you it's very rust resistant and wear resistant. It's a powdered metal technology steel, very much like S30 or S35VN. Carbon content I think is around 1.6%, chromium a high 18%, molybdenum, I hope I said that word right, 1%, 3% vanadium. But honestly, all that doesn't really impress me. I'm a user of blades, not a steel or metallurgy expert. I want to know how it performs, and that's going to take time. It is a relatively thick slab though. I measured it 0.165 inches on the 0560. It's a 3 3/4 inch blade, so that's a pretty big blade. And I think LMAX steel is, from what I know now, subject to change, a great choice for this blade. For them to put it in this collaboration knife tells me that Kershaw, Thomas, and crew, they have faith in the steel. I mean, wouldn't you? You're not going to put some experimental steel in this. I don't think. I could be off. How about size, weight, and feel? Well, if there's a downside, you knew this was coming, right? Of the 0560 series, it is a little bit heavy. I'm going to underline, underscore, boldface the word little, because 5.8 ounces for the amount of knife you're getting is actually pretty awesome. That's not to say I have not rolled in other knives in terms of weight, Microtech, SOCOM, that are not more awesome. They are. I mean, I am a weight fanatic. I unrepent about that. You guys know that. Because of systems. We integrate a knife in our system. If we're running around naked with a knife, then who cares about weight? But last time I checked, you might be carrying a tactical carbine. Maybe 120 round or 200 round combat loadout. Talking to my troops here. Maybe my LE guys. Body armor. Now you're putting on a big old knife. Again, getting back to my original take on ZT knives, the 8 ounce 0300 series. Too much. You know, this is a 3 3/4 inch blade. It's titanium slabbed, 5.8 ounces. I can forgive the weight. Titanium is supposed to be 45% lighter than steel, depending on its composition. But sometimes, you know, I'll heft a stainless steel framed knife and then a titanium knife, and I don't feel like I'm really saving that much weight. I think the main reason this thing weighs what it does, I'm saying 5.8 versus, I don't know, 7 ounces, is because of the aggressive milling that we just looked at. So great job, Kershaw, for doing that and really doing everything they can to make this production interpretation of the XM18 as light as possible. So I'm going to give the 5.8 ounces on this knife a big thumbs up. It is a little heavy. I got to stick with that. The feel is outstanding. The balance is about midpoint. Forward and reverse grips are going to work great. I like the feel. Now, is it as warm and soft and smooth and comfortable as a completely G10 or micarta handle? No, it's not. Them there is physics, guys. That's all I can say. On to philosophy of use. Dude, going backwards. That is hilarious. Well, obviously, tactical blade. And an emergency defensive tool you can bet your life on. This definitely goes into my best hard use tactical folders playlist, guys. Absolutely. It is a hard use tactical blade. Now that's not to say that we can go out batoning with it, doing spine wax with it, and I don't know, abusive things with a knife. It will fail, it will disappoint. All the frame locks I've ever seen that I've done that with have. But they're not billing it as that. They're not saying, hey, this is the ultimate survival tool, go out and use it. They're saying this is a hard use tactical folder. And for a tactical folder, you're going to be carrying it a lot, using it a little, at least in the role of defensive use, right? And that'll take us to the philosophy of use of, you know it, utility knife, EDC knife. 3 3/4 inch blade, for me, you knew this was coming too. Too big. It's just too big as a utility knife. I mean, what do I have on me today? How about this? Crkt Ripple in aluminum. Now that's an awesome utility knife, dudes. Awesome. Love this knife. Wait for this review. I will rave. This is a much better option. 2.4 ounces. Basically 6 ounces. No contest. How about a collectible? Yeah, I would say so. Like I said at the outset, this knife is already planned in different colorations. DLC coating, tiger stripe. There's already a FDE G10 version. I think that's a 0561. That would be a preferred version by me. So in collectability, it's very high. You're getting, like I said in the cool factor discussion, basically an XM18 for a lot less. And you can actually get one. Imagine that there's no backlist, there's no backlog. You can order it from my recommended retailer, which by the way is coming right now in the upper right to go get your 0560, 61. If I can save you any money, I absolutely will. There'll be a sidebar link. If there's a code or a link to click on, please do that. Still expensive knife, but like I said, it represents great value. It's a titanium hard use, really a semi-custom tactical folding knife, the 0560. It really is. So that makes it collectible in terms of you enjoy it, and it's part of your tactical knife collection. And there's dudes that do that. That's all they do is they collect tactical knives. I'm insane like that. I'm one of those guys. I've told you that for years, guys. You know that. How about it as an impressor knife? You know, that you bring it out and you're just going to blow people away. I think anybody who knows tactical knives, they know the Rick Hinderer XM18, will give respect, if that's important to you, if you break out a 0560. Maybe not. I don't know. I would be impressed if I do a gear check on you and you have one of these knives, and I go, hey dude, gear check, and you break out a 0560, 61, I'll be going, awesome. Awesome. This is a serious fighting knife, if you haven't gathered that. I mean, the protection it gives a hand, the length of the blade, not that it's huge, 3 3/4. I mean, we've seen longer, like 4 inches, 4.5, but it's stout, great penetration capabilities, slicing capabilities. Sorry, that's part of the tactical formula which we address honestly here. The Rick Hinderer Kershaw 0560 and its brothers is a big win from Zero Tolerance. From Kershaw, highly recommended, made in the United States of America, tactical blade. Look at my likability scale, it says it all. That's a Nutnfancy review.